The aftermath of a major event, and that is two great wars of Israel against enemies from the north, from Aram Damascus. Both wars, Israel is a victor. However, there's a clear warning by the prophet of Israel, and it seems that the king of Israel, Achav, doesn't get the message, meaning doesn't want to internalize the message. In the summary of the Dat Mikra of Musada Rav Kook, he writes about these two wars, and in general, we stated here that Achav is successful in almost every war he goes to. On the one hand, there's a great failure in the terrible progress of Avodah Zarah, the terrible progress of his wife leading and making the calls and making great decisions. And in spite of that, there seems to be a lot of solidarity, a lot of unity, no lashon hara, talking inside this Israeli kingdom. And as a result, according to Chazal, every war they go to, they're winners. However, at the end of this war, when they're about to conquer the actual king of Aram Damascus, King Achav has a chance to put to shame, to kill, take as a POW, the king of Aram, Hadad, or Ben Hadad is his name. Yet he calls him Achi. And in the great summary of the Dat Mikra, maybe tomorrow we'll add a little more about this, he says some things that we already mentioned, and that is the Middle East is like the Wild West. And there are terrible fears and situations that could manage itself in the future, that maybe Assyria will take over, will make a war against Israel. And Israel doesn't have enough forces, not enough strength to go to war against Ashur. And maybe that's the reason why King Achav makes a brit, a pact. And he sends them away as a treaty member. And he's thinking from a rational point of view. He's not thinking from a spiritual, prophetic view that he should have smashed the enemy. And that leaves him in a very terrible situation, which we saw at the end of the chapter. And that is, at the end of the chapter, we're told about a punishment. Let's see it, the last two verses. Vayomer Elav, Achav says, Achav is told now by the prophet, Ko amar Hashem yan shilachta et ish chermi miyad vayta nafshecha tachat nafsho. In other words, you're going to be in trouble because you left alive the king of Aram. And now that he's told that he's going to be punished for allowing him to be alive, how does he go home? Vayelech melech Yisrael al beito. He does go home with what? Sar v'za'ef, sad and angered. Vayavo Shomrona, is now going to the Shomron, because that's where the palace is. So that ends this chapter, this episode. Let's now begin our new chapter, Perek Kafala. Vayihi achar advarim ha'ele kerem haya lenavot hayizraelim asher b'Yisrael etzel heichal Achav melech Shomron. Vayidaber Achav el navot leimor tenali et karmecha vihi li legan yarak ki hu karov etzel beiti vetna lecha tachtav kerem tov mimenu im tov beinecha etna lecha chesef mechir zeh. Vayomer Navot, the reaction of Navot to the king, El Achav, Chalila li, me'Adonai mititi et nachalat avotai lach. We'll stop here at the end of these 3 psukim. We often look to see how each chapter is or not connected to the former chapter. However, here we can't debate. Why? Because the Tanakh opens up with what type of title? V'yachar advarim eila. Now, whether we hold that the Tanakh is written in chronological order, or we hold it's not written in chronological order, here, clearly, the author, which is Jeremiah, is clearly connecting between the events that we're about to read to the events that happened in the last chapter. Otherwise, why would he start with the words, and it was after these Acharat V'Remela? It seems clearly that there's a clear connection, and we're going to have to try to find out, study, contemplate, and find out why, how is it connected and why is it connected. We're told about a person called Navot. Why is he called a Yisraeli? He lives in the Jezreel Valley. Some of you know. One of the most pivotal pieces of or valleys in the country is the Jezreel Valley, because anyone that comes in from the north, from Syria, okay, and he wants to travel to the coast, to get to the Haifa coast, to get inland, to go to Tel Aviv, to get down to Mitzrayim, he would obviously travel on the shore road. And the way to get from the shore road is crossing Israel from the east to the west in the Jezreel Valley in Emek Israel. So we have a member of the Jezreel Valley. His name is Navot. And he has a kerem, he has a vineyard there. And where is it? Of course, in Jezreel. Now, who is the next door neighbor? Eitzel Heichal Achav. Achav has a shrine there. He has a mansion there. Achav is the king of the Shomron. But he has what kind of shrine, what kind of possession does he have? A summer house or a winter house. Cain doesn't want to stay with the cold weather in the Shomron. He goes to the Jezreel Valley. The valley by nature has warmer weather. And it doesn't say that this Heichal is a royal house. The royal king of the Shomron has a house in Israel. In other words, if you were to describe to me that this is a royal place, his royal kingdom, then there might be laws that you're allowed to confiscate certain things, you're allowed to take away things. But here, it seems that this is his winter house. It's a private affair. It's not a royal or national home, which might have relevance to the matter that we're about to study. Okay? This is Heichal Achav Eitzel Shomron. Okay? So it could be something fabulous from a private way, and that's exactly what the Malbim explains here. In other words, the Shomron is the city of his kingdom. Not what? Not Yisrael. And the Heichal that he has built in Israel is not a house of the kingdom, rather something private that he has maybe before he was a king. And now, what is he interested? He speaks strongly to Navot in verse 2 and says, give me your kerem. And what will I do to it?
Knock it down, develop it.
I will uproot it, and I will turn it into a vegetable garden. You know, he's making some scrambled eggs in the morning in the Jezreel Valley. He needs some cucumbers, some peppers, some tomatoes. He wants a lovely green garden to walk when he comes out of the house. Something green, something nice. Ken Gan Yarak. Why? Because your kerem is next to my house. Now, what is he willing to offer? Number one, I will what? I'll give you a better kerem. I know some quality kramim. I'll give you either that, and if you don't want that, meaning I'll pay you whatever the money is worth. Now, notice that he's not demanding it just to give it to me, I'll confiscate it, because we know there's a law of the king. And the king has a right to confiscate anything and everything he wants to, as we're told by Samuel the prophet when we're talking about the laws of the king. But here, he's not acting as a king. He wants to take the kerem and he wants to turn it into a vegetable garden.
Okay, so it's not, is it considered part of the Shomron?
No, it's in the Jezreel Valley.
Right, so.
And it's a private, he has a private house here. It's not the name of royalty here.
Is under
He has private ownership of this land. Navot has private ownership of this vineyard.
right, no, you don't understand what I'm saying.
I don't.
Achav is king of the north.
The king of the Shomron. And his house in the Jezreel Valley is not a royal house. It's a private house.
Is it in the north?
No, it's in
He has no achriyut, he cannot say, since it's not, is it part of his kingdom?
no,
That's my question.
no, it's private home. That's what the Malbim argues in the language.
So who's in charge?
He has his own private home.
No, but it is part of the
What?
the king of his area.
He's still, yeah, but on the one hand, he's the king of all the area from the Shomron and going north.
Right.
However, the area here, the house that he has down below, is a private house. It's not the adjoining yard next to the royal kingdom in the Shomron. It is private property owned by Navot, next to the private property owned by Achav Melech Israel.
But he would, since he's the king of the...
It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a
not
difference.
within his borders.
It's
Not his
ancestral.
territory. So he has
Oh,
the right.
so that's what we're going to see. When, after the king offers this deal, I'll get you a better kerem or I'll pay you for the money, we read the reply of Navot. Notice what it says. Vayomer Navot el Achav. It doesn't even say Vayomer Navot el Melech Achav. It's as if he's talking to him on a private sphere, And we'll be able to learn three reasons why he's not interested in giving it over. Number one, he says, Chalila li me Hashem, mititi et nachalat avotai lach. Chalila li is like the language of a shavua. God forbid, I cannot sell this to you. Why? Because it's nachalat avotai. This is an ancestral, like you said, an ancestral piece of land. And the Eretz Yisrael, which is divided into tribal areas, you're not allowed to sell your area that you get from your father, grandfather, great-grandfather. It's a nachala. And the nachala is not allowed to be sold. What would be the source for this? The Torah says in Vayikra 25, when we talk about the sale of land in the land of Israel, it says, V'ha'aretz lo timacher letzmitut. You're not allowed to sell forever the land. Why? Ki li ha'aretz. Okay? The land belongs to me, to God. Ki gerim v'toshavim atem imadi. And you're with me as what? As either strangers or settlers. You're not allowed to sell the land. It used to belong to God. God apportioned it to the different tribes. And therefore, the land which is divided amongst the tribes cannot be sold.
Can it be sold?
One second. So I want to keep on going on. There's a halacha that's brought in the Rambam from the Gemara that a person's not allowed to sell his home or his field even if it would be able to be brought back after many years, only in the event that he became poor. Only in the event that he became poor. As it says, "V'chiyamuch achichu machar me'achuzato" in Vayikra 25. Okay? But to sell and hold on to the money in your pocket, or to make barter or investments with it, or to buy other things, we're not allowed to do. And if you did transgress and sell it, the sale is a sale. It is a sale. First of all, let's understand three different understandings as the Malbim brings. Number one, Chalilali me'Hashem. Chalilali me'Hashem, a spiritual thing. I'm not allowed, what? I wouldn't sell it to you. I wouldn't sell it to you, which is like almost a personal affront to Achav. Number two, et nachalat avotai. I have sentimental value here. I have halachic matters here. And furthermore, lach, to you. In other words, he's adding another dimension against Achav. Three different reasons. A spiritual reason, chalilali, what? This belongs to me. To sell it to you, it's to turn it into chol. Chalila from the word chol. That would be a terrible thing to do. That's like a spiritual thing. Nachalat avotai is more a more sentimental family matter. It belongs to the family. It's a nachala. And number three, I wouldn't give it to you. So the question we want to ask, which of the three reasons do you think made it difficult on Achav?
Number three. Of course.
Huh?
So people usually give as they go, they get stronger.
Right, it gets more strong. So the fact that Achav goes home, and how does he go home? Pasuk Daled, let's read it. Vayavo Achav el beito. He goes home to his wife. Sar v'za'ef. Notice the way he went home from the prophet, the same term is used. Sar v'za'ef, we said atzuv v'ka'us. Okay, and he's saddened and angered. That's how he arrived to the Shomron. And now he's going home to the Shomron, to his wife, with the same term, Sar v'za'ef. Why? Ala davar asher diber alav navot Yisraeli vayomer. And as he's speaking to his wife, Beito, Bayit, is his wife. What does he tell her? What did Navot say? Lo etek lecha et nachalat avotai. Which of the three is he mentioning first? Which one? Lecha. In other words, just like you said before, he turns the order around. That the third reasoning is now mentioned first. He got hurt. He got insulted. Okay, and the king was insulted. The Navot would not be willing to hand it over to him. Okay? Lo etein lecha nachalat avotai. That's what he tells his wife. As a result, Vayishkava mitato, he lies on his bed. Vayasevet panav velo achalachem. He doesn't want to see anyone. Okay? He looks at the walls. He's in the doldrums. And he's not willing to look at anyone, and furthermore, he doesn't even want to eat.
Sounds a bit like Shaul with the Balatov.
Okay, very interesting. So, Achav, the fact that it's Nachalat Avotav of Mr. Navot, that doesn't bother him. Okay? However, what does bother him is that he was as if insulted. And therefore he came home so embittered. So we have a very, very complex situation. Halachically, did Navot have to sell it? No. It's his own ancestral property. But it's clear that Achav is a rotten person, after the fact that he was told that what he's going to be punished for not killing the enemy of Israel. And remember what some of you said yourself at the end of the learning of chapter 20. Kol Menachem al achzarim, anyone that has mercy on cruel people, Besof, in the end, what will happen? He will be what? He will be cruel to people that he should really have mercy. Now we're seeing the beginning of this episode here, what he wants to do to Navot. Pasuk, let's continue. Verse 5. Vatavo elav Izevel ishto.
So Izevel is still there.
Yeah, right. It's good that you're mentioning. When we learned the episode where Hara Carmel, and we learned the episode of the wars against Aram Damascus, we didn't see the appearance of the first lady, who has been very influential in the kingdom of Achav. And we saw some sort of objective of tshuva, of repentance. Remember, Achav at Hara Carmel, Mount Carmel, he what? He supported this event of Eliyahu Navi. He watched the killing, the judgment done to the false prophets to be killed. That is a process of tshuva. However, in the two wars against Aram, where he had the opportunity in the second war to kill the king of Damascus, he didn't do it. We don't see, though, the involvement of Mrs. Izevel. Here, she is involved. Why? We're going back to the palace. Where are we now? In which area? In the Shomron. So Vatavo elav Izevel ishto, his wife comes to him. She sees that he's, in a bad mood, not looking, not talking, not eating. V'tedaber elav, and she speaks to him. What is this evil, terrible mood that you're in? And you're not eating any food. What's going on here? And the response that she gets by Yedaber Elah, Ki Yadaber al Navot Israeli. When I spoke to him, Va'omar lo, and I said to him, Tanali et karmacha bekesef. He turns the order around. Sell to me your vineyard for money. Oh, im chafetzata, or if you desire it, nalacha kerem tachtav, or if you desire, I'll give you what? A better land. I'll give you a land instead of what your land is. Vayomer lo eten lacha et karmi. So he repeats basically the answer to his wife, but really, which response is he referring to? Lo etein lecha. That's what bothers him. Lo etein lecha. Now, if we were to describe right now the two opponents, who do we have? We have Navot, who is a farmer, and he with zealousy wants to keep what? His ancestral portion, Maybe he's even Hasidi, he doesn't want to give up anything whatsoever. Opposite him, you have a king, that's what? He's a tough person, but here we see that he was soft. He didn't employ any force, he didn't call him any names. It's like giving up, any Masorah that a king could be tough here whatsoever. However, who comes into the matter? Izevel. And look what Izevel is willing to say. Pasuk Zayin. Vatomer elav Izevel ishto. Ata? You? Right now, Ata. Taseh melucha Yisrael? Is that the way you're making yourself a king over Israel? What, are you becoming a softie? And for that, you're not managing the kingdom, you're not eating. Kum, get up, echol lechem. V'yitav libach, you'll feel better after you eat. Lechem is not necessarily bread, but a meal. Ani etein lecha kerem navot, I'll give it to you. There's no problem. Izevel is decisive in her mind. She wants to teach her husband, Achav, a lesson. It's no such thing that a king doesn't show authority. A king has to show authority, has to show strength. Remember what she did. She wanted to kill the prophets of God without judgment. She put a wanted list, and she was killing, and therefore they had to hide, as we learned chapters ago. Now, she wants to show that there has to be something normative behavior by a king, that there's nothing that a king is said no to. No such thing in the world. If the king is told no, you have to show your authority. So number one, you have to eat. And now she's going to come up with a plan, which is lying, which is what? Let's read it. Vatichtov Sfarim b'shem Achav. She sends out decrees to the city. Vatachtov b'chotomo. Look at this. She's sealing the decrees. Vatishloach hasfarim el haskenim ve'lachorim asher be'iro hayeshvim in Navot. She's turning to the elders, the scholars. She's turning to the ministers in the city of Israel, and she's basically making up a lie. She's going to put up witnesses as lies, and she's going to cause a lot of havoc. And you know, it's interesting. The question is, she's a real politician. She knows how to make up lies. She knows how to get people. But we should raise a question. Why does she have to do this? If she's such an evil person, if she's the person that killed the prophets of God or endangered their lives, she didn't do it with a court system. She did whatever she wanted to do. She did terrible things. So why is she digging up a plan now? Making up an alibi. She's going to sign witnesses. They're going to be false witnesses. They're going to give what? Testimony in court. The court will have no other choice but to decide based upon the testimony of these witnesses. Why does she have to do that? Isn't she a wicked witch? You think she's trying to do tshuva? She wants to show her husband how to show authority. So we're asking ourselves, when she went out and killed prophets of Israel, she didn't make up a case in court. She didn't, out of her whim, all of a sudden create prophets, edim, witnesses to make up things. So we want to.
It's not Shamron. It's not like where the king's might. He said, okay, he lives here as a house here.
You're saying because it's not in the hometown where the palace is. In other words, it'd be easier for her to show her strength if it was in the Shomron. Interesting answer. Could be. Any other answers?
She needs to prove legitimate deed to the land.
She's going to falsely cause the death of Mr. Navot.
Okay.
And then what is she going to do? She's going to take over the property. Haratzachta v'gam yarashta. Okay? You murdered and then you inherit. Right? We're going to see the total lack of morality, the total corruption, okay? Social corruption. What is she doing? And we're asking, but why does she need this? Why can't she just be cruel and do whatever she wants? I mean, she killed prophets without any legitimate.
Those were like Levites. I mean, this guy's a landholder, and his politics, it looks bad. Just take,
So you're saying, in the eyes of the common man in the city, they would not accept such a thing, that someone's stealing their property, unless it was done legitimately through a court.
But why would Achav now inherit that field? Because didn't Nabot has like any children, any inheritance?
Kill the family.
Good question.
If he has son, then they should receive it.
if some kind of crime against the king could have like the reason to take the land.
Right, to confiscate the land.
Seizure.
We'll get to that, B'ezrat Hashem. And we'll talk about also the laws of the authority of the king that Shmuel said. We'll do that starting tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem. We'll learn Hilchot Purim now.